Welcome, Steve, to California. I know you've been out here before, and you're literally fresh off the plane. So we'll let you get some time to adjust to the time difference and everything. But how's it going, and what's the agenda for this week?
Buddy, yesterday I woke up to snow on the grass, and I was absolutely drenched in sweat by the afternoon. It was awesome, and what's on the agenda is we're going to watch a lot of California hockey, right?
Yeah.
We got 2 Barracuda games, 2 Sharks games. I think we're going to go to a couple practices, interview some players, and talk to Brodie Brazil.
Well, I appreciate your time, and this obviously times out well, too, with the Leafs visit out here to California. You are, I guess what, in the Leafs media, or are you still a fan, or what do you consider yourself, and how do you describe your trajectory into the ecosystem of covering the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's very strange.
It's non-traditional.
Non-traditional, and I like that.
Yeah.
It's a career path that I don't even know if I'd necessarily say I pursued. Like, it wasn't a career path. I sort of carved it on my own. I kept my options open for a long time. Like, I wrote scripts for highlights. I voiced them. I edited them. I had a lot of, I guess, traditional media roles, all while building a YouTube profile. I would definitely still call myself a fan.
Yeah, okay.
My LFR series after every Leaf game is Leafs Fan Reaction.
Yeah.
But I think you're allowed to be a fan in the media as long as you acknowledge what your bias is.
Right.
You can't be like, you're just some guy who cheers for the Leafs. It's like, yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, you're being honest with them.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that people like to watch you watching games? They like your raw reaction.
Great question. I don't know. I think people enjoy it because it makes them feel normal.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten this feedback many times. Usually from guys is they like to show my stuff to their girlfriends or their wives to show them, hey, look, I'm not that bad.
Right. He gets this way too.
Yeah. Two.
Yeah.
I go way over the top. I think when they win, you want someone to share the joy with.
Yep.
When they lose, you need direction. You want to know how to feel. Maybe you want catharsis. Maybe you need someone to be mad for you. And
You'll do that work.
I get it out, let him have it, and you know what? He did it all for me.
Do you think watching sports and being an invested fan as you are in Toronto, do you think that it is actually taking years off your life?
Oh, man.
Do you actually get stressed, or is this this like I'm not saying performative, but is this more showing than it actually is inside you? Are you really wearing it like it seems like you do?
I badly wish it was a shtick. I do. I badly wish it was a shtick.
Yeah.
You should. A few years ago, I streamed Leafs games and I wore a heart rate monitor.
I remember seeing that.
I wore a heart rate monitor, and we tweeted it out. And Chris Hadfield, who's a popular Canadian astronaut, tweeted it with the feedback that my heart rate during Game 7, I think it was Leafs Tampa, in 2022, my heart rate for that hockey game, just watching it, was higher than his heart rate for being launched into space. I badly wish it was a shtick, but I care just that much.
It's good cardio, Watching a Leafs game is good cardio.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about Leafs fans, Sharks fans. We don't have a lot of connected history, never been in the same conference, not in the same country, but we do have what the kids call mutuals.
Yes.
I didn't know that term until the other day.
Yes.
Mutual players over the years, Sharks and Maple Leaf players, none other than friend of ours, Jamie Baker, former broadcaster, obviously scored one of the biggest playoff goals in Shark history.
Yeah.
Cody Ceci, as of recently, former Shark.
That's right.
Now, since traded away. Vinny Damphus. Noah Gregor, now back as a Shark.
Vinny Damphus is interesting because I grew up knowing him as a Shark. His time with the Leafs was
more
sort
than
of
a Leaf. Well, that's interesting when you run down the list here, and there are actually a lot of players. Milan Mihalik, Stefan Nason, Owen Nolan, and I'm omitting the big two, Jumbo and Patty, because I want to save them separately.
Yeah.
But it is interesting when you look at the cross-section of players over the years. There's no shortage of guys that Jamal Mayers, current broadcaster again.
Barabanov? was a recent one.
Yeah, Alexander Barabanov.
Yeah.
Yep, he's in there. Al Iafrate. I mean, you could go back. You could go recent.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of players. Do you have a favorite Shark and Maple Leaf combo? And here's if you want to see the list, there it is right there.
I mean, it's a crazy list. Wayne Primo was a fun one.
Yeah.
Scott Sabrin. Oh, you know who's a player I don't think anyone dislikes? Like anyone in the whole world, Ben Smith. Captain of the Toronto Marlies when they won the Calder Cup. Patrick Marleau was a really surreal one for me.
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like when we saw Jumbo and Patty wearing any Toronto colors, logo.
Weird.
It was surreal, but it was almost like also a weird time in Sharks history and around the world. Like everything was a little bit upside down. And I don't want to say it was like retirement home. Like that's Jumbo Patty. I'm sorry, boys. But no, I mean, it was the end of their career, and it was an opportunity. And I actually think that they it seems to me like with the younger players in Toronto at that time, they kind of made their mark out there that might still exist today.
Oh, 100%. And like Patty, especially that first year, was real good.
Yeah.
Like he had 27 goals.
Yeah.
He was a really good playoff performer for them. There was a Game 7, I think it was 2018, that the Leafs lost. And he had he had a 2-goal performance that I feel like is sort of lost in the ether, but because they didn't get the result they wanted. But no, Patty, I only knew him as a Shark. Seeing him in Leafs colors was really weird.
Right.
I actually got to see either his first or one of his first Leafs exhibition games. It was at the Marlies rink.
Okay.
And it's not the greatest rink. Like it's right next to the Toronto.
It's no Tex-U Arena.
Honestly, like this is pretty good. Like
it is.
Where the Marlies play is right next to the Toronto Police where they keep their horses, and it smells like it.
You know, the Sharks started at the Cow Palace back in the day. It literally is a cow palace.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so
the first 2 years there. I get that.
There's some camaraderie there. So it almost felt like beneath Patty,
but to be playing there,
I was at a Blue Jays game when he signed with the Leafs, and that was so surreal. But I believe he scored his first game as a Leaf. That was against the Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg, and from that moment on, I knew he was going to be a special player.
And in terms of maybe what it meant in the timing for those players to come there, was that a big deal? Again, you knew that they were at the end of their career. They were there to help. I think Patty might have helped more than Jumbo did, but what did it mean to Leafs fans to take on those two players?
Well, the Leafs, I mean, that was such a strange team, the 16-17 team that went from last to the playoffs. And they had a really fun series against the Capitals. Didn't go their way, but it was 6 games, all decided by 1 goal. 5 of the games went to overtime. And it really felt like if they just had a little bit more veteran something, whatever that is, and a really good player, they should be able to get over the hump. We know it didn't work out that great, but I think it was a sign of the perception of that team, how excited people were for that team, that Patty was willing to make that jump. Yeah. And like, I would not be surprised at all if the Sharks had a pretty quick turnaround here. Yeah. Like, I see a lot of the same pieces. Yeah. People talk about youth in the lineup. Not all youth is equal. Like, okay, you have a blue chipper in your organization. They're not as good as Macklin Celebrini. You know, you got a prospect you're really excited about. They're probably not as good as Will Smith. And Sharks are very likely going to add. This is a really good draft, and a lot of the high-end talent is out of the Ontario Hockey League. Yep. Who knows who the Sharks are going to get?
I've been watching a lot of the prospects, the San Jose prospects out there.
Exactly,
Dickinson, Chernyshov.
Oh, Dickinson, geez, yeah. And so they got all this young talent that's coming up. We know it's coming. They're going to hit. Like, there's mystery with prospects, but I don't think there's as much with these guys. Yeah. So I could see vets from around the league who are free agents taking the jump here. I mean, you get to play on a young, exciting team, and you're surrounded by palm trees. Twist my arm. You know,
I think that's why Tyler Toffoli signed up for 4 years. You know, he's been so great with the younger players, and the sleepover aside, he's more of a mentor on the ice as well as off it. What is And I want to ask this about this year's Sharks team, but I want to start actually with the bigger picture. What's the perception of a hockey market like San Jose from a place like Toronto? And I don't mean to say that you're scoffing at us. I mean, Toronto's an original six team and the biggest hockey market I think that exists anywhere. San Jose's non-traditional. It doesn't snow here. We've only had Sharks Ice as a facility for the past several decades. Like, we're still going and growing, but how does Toronto see us?
It's a good question, and I think, listen, there was arrogance, and there was ignorance for a long time. I think it's always going to be around a little bit, but it's largely been dropped. I mean, there's 3 teams here. They've been here for a long time. They've all had more success than the Leafs have in recent memory. Sharks had a cup final.
Yeah.
Ducks had a cup. Kings had a couple.
You don't have to remind us about.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I forgot. You don't have to list everything, Steve. My bad.
I know their history.
Yeah, you guys have all had deep runs. You know.
And it's weird because all the California teams in the 2010s so good, it was like a trap for any Eastern team to come out here and play those 3 in a row.
It was horrible.
And now it's not like that, but I think it's going back to that, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going back to that. The abundance of California born players. The Leafs have one right now, and technically Austin Matthews.
I was going to say, born at the same hospital as my son, and I keep telling him that.
No way!
Yeah, out in San Ramon, right up the road here, 680. Yeah. But I think he spent 6 months here, and then was straight down to Arizona.
Right.
But of course, we'll take pride in
that.
that.
Yeah, I was going to say Nick Robertson.
Yeah,
because I know he grew up in California, but Matthews, I can't remember how he's announced in Toronto today, but in his first few years in Toronto, they announced him as San Ramon, California.
Wow. All right. Small world. And as it relates to the team, you look at the Sharks of this year, and a lot of people have said, well, they're the most fun last place team in the NHL. Can you see some pieces? You kind of alluded to that, and the Leafs have gone through this before. Mm-hmm. Marner and Matthews are bigger names right now in the NHL than Smith and Celebrini, but you add in some time, you add in some experience. Where do you see them going?
Oh, the top. I mean, you need. There's only one puck, and people forget that, right? Like, and a tournament comes along, like the Four Nation face-off, right? And I think we get sucked into how deep a team is. I don't think fans around the league understand how transformational a player like Macklin Celebrini is. Having him at the top, even if it's not the deepest team, or you got some guys deep in your lineup who are learning, or there's injuries, or whatever it is, having someone like him who is already elite, and he's only going to get better, and he's surrounded by some really, really, really good young talent, and reinforcements are coming, like you said, Chernyshov, Dickinson, whoever they draft this year. Askarov has played most of his time in the AHL this year, I think.
He has, and he's recovering from an injury right now, too.
Exactly, right? So, the perception, I don't think people are understanding how good this team could be and what that timeline is going to be like. The 5-year rebuild. Yeah. I don't think I subscribe to that. I don't think I believe it. Maybe that's the bias because Leafs had a pretty quick turnaround. Yeah. But
and also, when are you starting the clock on the official rebuild? Because it's a process to lighten up, so to speak. Yeah. Then it's a process to stock up, and then it's a process to build up. So where are we starting the clock? So you know what I'm saying? Like, is it? Some people might see it only as 3 years start to finish, but to your point, it might be more of a longer period when you actually think about when does it start, and then what is being back considered? Is that making the playoffs?
No, I think this is it. Like, there's the term I'm trying to get out into the hockey world is debuild, right? So there's part of a rebuild that's the debuild, and it's no fun.
Right.
And,
which I feel like the Sharks pretty much just kind of completed that phase, or they're still building, but the debuild has been a priority. It's had to be a priority.
Yeah, and you got to do both at once. So you're trading guys off like Yeah, thanks for trading Fabian Zetterlund to the Atlantic Division, by the way.
Sorry about that.
Not happy about that at all.
Hello, Ottawa.
Yeah. He's a great player. I was hoping to interview him, and then, so the debuild, I don't think there's much more to do there. Everyone, this is my assumption. I don't know the inner workings of the Sharks front office, but my assumption is the guys who have been Sharks for a while that are still here, my assumption would be they're going to stay here. And they're going to be the guys who usher in the new guys. They're going to be able to recruit vets. The young guys are only going to get better. I see this operation shaping up pretty quick.
All right, last couple of things here. You've been to the tank or you've not been to SAP Center before?
Only outside.
Really?
Yeah, really,
so
really looking forward to it.
You're going to go inside and see all of it for the first time.
That's right.
And this is your also first time here at Sharks Ice and seeing Texas Arena.
That's right.
Initial impressions of all this?
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's again, maybe this is some of that Toronto arrogance, but it gives me hope because we keep traditional hockey markets were sold for a really long time that things are building, and it's not just here, it's everywhere, and you don't know who to trust until you see it with your own eyes. Like everything we've been seeing, the draft picks, how well the teams have done, the buildings being full when the team's really competitive. Those are all things we can see, but there's something that makes me feel way better about it when you walk into a building with what is it, 6 pads of ice?
Yeah, here. Yep.
And people are just coming in and out of the arena. They're skating around on the ice. They're just having a good time. It's a social thing. It's a communal thing. I mean, what really is the difference between here and back home when hockey is an essential part of the culture, which it's becoming?
So nothing's ever going to take you away from the Leafs. That's obvious. Like you're kind of cemented in that.
Yeah.
Could this trip and could some of these connections, could you at least have a Western Conference team? Could you have an American team? Could you have a California team? Could some of this kind of influence you in the future that you'll have a special place in your heart?
I could be convinced to hate the Ducks and Kinks. I could be convinced. You know what's
funny? We
can
start right there.
You know what's funny? Like when you're a kid, you just your whole world revolves around just a handful of things. And I don't remember if it was the 93 or the 94 playoffs, but the Leafs did play the Sharks.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
And Artur Zerbe was the goalie.
Yep.
And there was a time where I was like 6 years old and I hated him.
I think that was the only playoff connection San Jose and Toronto have. Yeah,
has to
in the
be.
90s. Yeah,
but that has long since dissipated. No, I'm a fan of what they're doing. So you know what? You need blue to make teal.
Wow.
Deep.
Wow. You thought about that for a while.
I came up with that right now. Listen, you get some good Mexican food in you, and you start feeling passionate about stuff.
We're going to go get you some orange sauce, and I know you don't know what that means. A lot of our viewers do.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, well, we'll put it all over your burrito.
Yeah.
Steve, I appreciate this.
Thank you.
All right.